If you live here inside the Beltway, and particularly if you're a journalist, you have the impression that President Trump is enveloped, awash in media-generated controversy, that he is under fire, that he's under siege, that he is punching back, that there is this just great storm going on. But if you live out in the heartland, particularly in rural areas, small towns, if you're a Trump supporter, the view, the perspective is very different, and I bring that up because I think it's important for those of us in this business who live in places like New York and Los Angeles and Washington to understand that to some extent we are sort of insulated from much of the rest of the country. We certainly saw evidence of that in the election. So it was refreshing to see on the New York Times op-ed page a piece by a guy named Robert Leonard, who is a Iowa radio news director, who has a lot of conservative friends and who explains this dichotomy. Let me read a little bit of this to you. He writes that what he hears from his conservative friends is a collective yawn at the Washington maelstrom. Few care about the tweets, whether it's about Joe and Mika or the CNN wrestling body slam, the whacking of James Comey. About time, he says. Obama appointee anyway. Trump asking Comey to drop the Mike Flynn investigation. It was a simple question, not obstruction of justice. The Comey testimony, vindication for Trump. Comey's a leaker. He lied under oath. He's lucky he's not in jail. Just to give you a sense, that doesn't mean that this viewpoint is right, but the point is there is a part of the country that feels very strongly about this, does not like the media, does not trust the media, and believes very strongly that a lot of this stuff is just noise. And the piece goes on to say that Trump, in the view of his most ardent supporters, is the leader of a cultural war. And so if he has taken on members of the media, even though we might say, you know, he really shouldn't be talking about Mika Brzezinski's looks, or the body slam thing goes a little too far because it might give people the wrong impression, they're right on, you know, stick it to them. They are elitists who don't have our best interests at heart. And the same thing when he takes on other institutions, Congress, and even the Republican leadership itself. Remember that Trump beat the Republican establishment in winning the nomination and the presidency. So I think it's an important reminder. Now, unfortunately, in my view, this guy then has to have a sort of a catchy angle. So he goes off on Fox News and he says the only way, so apparently he doesn't agree with a lot of his conservative friends. And he says that Fox is on in almost every bar and restaurant in his part of Iowa. I don't know how much of it he watches because he doesn't seem to understand it. He says the only way the political system in the country will turn against Trump is if Fox News turns against Trump. And this, I think, plays into that old stereotype that, you know, Fox News has a coordinated message and every day there are marching orders, everybody has to carry it out. So if you actually do watch Fox News and understand Fox News, you see a broad variety of views about the president. By the way, during the campaign, remember, he was at odds with Fox, skipped that Iowa debate in your state, and told me in an interview that Fox is more unfair to CNN. Well, a lot's changed since then. But, you know, if you watch Sean Hannity or Fox and Friends, you see people who are very sympathetic to the president. Obviously, he gets a lot of support in prime time. If you watch Bret Baier's special report, Shepard Smith, if you listen to some of the conservative commentators now, Charles Krauthammer, Steve Hayes, Jonah Goldberg, Rich Lowry, you name it, they'll give Trump his due, but they were very critical of Trump during the campaign and remain so on many, many issues, including his temperament. So the idea that, well, Fox will make an institutional decision and they've had enough of Trump. And by the way, when Trump sent that Mika tweet, almost everybody I saw, including many of the women on Fox, said that went too far. He shouldn't have done it. So, you know, if President Trump is to lose support, it will be because he loses support among his own people. And that's not a function of what any single news organization does. If there's one thing this president has proven, is he has more clout than any single news organization. He's got a huge bullhorn. He's the president of the United States. And so I think it's wishful thinking on the part of those who oppose him that if only some of these people who defend him would see the light, then we can get rid of the guy or rein him in or impeach him or whatever it is. Well, that's a fantasy. And I think it's important to understand this viewpoint, which I think Mr. Leonard reflects very well, but also to understand that the president, any president, but including this president, is bigger and has more influence and more clout than any single news organization that either supports or opposes him.